Greetings, heroes and Force users of all ages, and welcome back to Inside the Tauntaun, a podcast in the multiverse of fandom. As always, I am Dino Nicandros, and I'm joined today by Daniel Dawson.
Hello there.
And not Alyssa, because she's enjoying some well-earned R&R as her work schedule continues to pick up. So she will be missed as we talk about the unbelievable, in every sense of the word, Episode 3 of Obi-Wan Kenobi on Disney+. This is Part 3, directed by Deborah Chow, written by Joby Harold, Hannah Friedman, and Hossein Amini. And by God, you could say we're Star Wars fans.
I don't know who you are or where you came from.
I am Iron.
I thought they smelled bad. On the outside.
Smells like a new car in here.
Inside the Tauntaun, this is our opening song. Alyssa, Daniel, and Dino, talking nerd stuff, come along. Inside the Tauntaun podcast, please like and subscribe.
I think you could say we're Star Wars fans.
You could say that. One could say that.
And we did. And I will.
So, as far as Episode 3 goes,
we're halfway through.
Well, we're halfway through, and did you think that at the halfway point we would get what they gave us?
Maybe only just because we only have 3 left, which is crazy.
That's very fair. That's very true.
That being said,
I'm stunned.
Wow. So I mean, because it's this is the halfway point. What is the finale gonna be like? Jesus God.
Yeah. So I mean, let's dive right into that. I'm blown away that we got. I'm blown away that we got so much exposure of Darth Vader.
I've been exposed.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it, and I still love it to this day.
I mean, they just really went for it.
Yeah, they went for it, and I think that they kind of, I don't know if they obviously they feel the weight. They know that everybody believes that Darth Vader is one of the greatest villains of all time. Yeah. And they want him to be feared and not just a meme. Rogue One was one of the first times that I ever really felt like that. I mean, I think as a child I was terrified of Darth Vader for sure, but growing older I was kind of isn't he silly, isn't it?
Well, yeah, and there's something to that because I think the scariest thing about Vader was left up to your imagination because most of the original films he's just kind of prowling around.
And every once in a while he chokes somebody with the Force, and it's okay.
Usually one of his own minions, but. Here, and you mentioned Rogue One, but here you see Jason Voorhees,
Dear
Darth Vader.
God,
Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, it was built to be a little like Obi-Wan's little personal horror story. It was my goodness, yeah, his entrance onto that planet and Obi-Wan seeing for the first time and him force choking all of the, oh my God, and then killing a child,
snapping a child's neck
without a hesitation, the child comes to assumedly come help his father, I guess, that's being force choked in midair, and then gets his head snapped, and we're all left thinking, well, this guy has got some issues he needs to work out.
And it makes forgiving him by the time we get to Return of the Jedi all the more difficult.
Oh man, yeah, and
because
it's heartbreaking and so sad, and we're starting to see, and truthfully, you can tell he's not just doing it out of pointless rage or whatever. He's doing it strategically to torture Obi-Wan. Yeah, because he knows. Well, and I'm curious because I mean I don't know if we'll ever get this answer, but I'm because we've heard the Inquisitors say that the Jedi sort of out themselves all the time because
they hunt themselves.
Yeah, they hunt themselves because if there's ever a person
leaves
in need,
a trail,
they will absolutely go and help them. But whether or not that was Darth Vader's mind space at that moment, or if he knew that Obi-Wan wouldn't come out, but that he would probably see it and have to suffer that it was going to be his fault that this person died.
It's probably both.
Yeah, either way, it's just so disturbing. So disturbing. And yeah. I mean, just imagine this is that's his MO. Oh my God. Just all the things that we haven't seen and probably will see potentially going forward in the next couple of days. It's just, I mean, episodes, not days, but yikes.
But they did hold true to the statements they were made. Both Hayden Christensen and Deborah Chow both said before the series that we were going to see Vader in a very different place than we've seen him before. And this is the one who's still smoldering with hatred.
Raging fire.
And I feel like even by the time we get to Return of the Jedi, he's almost beaten down in a way. Because I'm thinking about the conversation he has when he shows up on Endor to arrest Luke, and Luke says, "It's not too late. Come with me," and Vader says, "It's too late for me, son."
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, you're right. I think that he's we might see his this is I mean, if you think about it, because gosh, we've been talking about it in the Marvel universe a lot, but the stages of grief, Darth Vader is kind of going through that, and we never really got to see his ragey anger side. And well, that's not true. I guess we have, but I mean, I think that we're seeing the full arc of that rage, and we're at the peak right now, it feels like.
Right.
And by the Return of the Jedi, we see sort of his diminished version of that, and he's starting to have acceptance, I guess. It just makes his characters that much more juicy and wonderful, and I'm so happy and excited about it.
Well, and we've talked about the concerns of overexposing a character like Vader, because you can't have too much of a good thing.
Yeah. Well, but it's funny. It's funny that you say that, because I literally had the thought. I was like, oh man, what if at this point they could totally do a Darth Vader show.
And Hayden Christensen said he'd be open to it. He wasn't suggesting it is happening, but he said there's so much to explore there. And I'm like, yeah, there is.
Well,
but don't.
And his relationship, yeah, I know, and his relationship with the Inquisitors and all that, that could absolutely be its own show. Really,
I just
dark show for sure. But I don't think they would do that, and they probably shouldn't. But I mean, if they were gonna give it to me, I'd be like, nom, 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 nom.
It'd be great in the moment. I just worry about what it would do for the character as a whole, because the fact we don't get all that much screen time with Vader through the entire series, I think, is what is so effective about it. We leave so much up to imagination.
Sure. Well, and you're kind of treading onto the thought process behind some people's what do you call it? I guess criticisms of Boba Fett.
Yeah, no, that was exactly it. He had his helmet off too much.
Yeah, and we were seeing his sort of after he's had his rage, and he's now like a more
compassionate
and understandable person. Yeah.
And there was a question of did we need that?
Less mystery and more I totally get where he's coming from. That makes sense. And you're like, I don't know if I want to see where that. But I mean, personally, I still believe that I loved it, and I am very excited to see where his character arc goes, because I can kind of, I'm sort of seeing the imaginary big picture potentially, and that they're making a setup for whatever else coming forward.
A big old crossover event.
A big old crossover event. Yeah.
Those were Jon Favreau's words. They are building to a big crossover event.
Yeah.
Like that whole Mandoverse.
It's fairly fair. I wouldn't say obvious, but yeah, it's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
And
considering the timeline of all of these shows, Kenobi aside, all of the other shows are going to be taking place around the same time.
And speaking of crossovers, I mean, I know I talked about it on the last episode. And I'm not sure exactly where my mind stands at it now that I've seen this next episode, but we talked about Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah.
And we saw yet another direct call to that game where we visited the Inquisitor's base. I mean, I think we kind of knew that was coming.
Yeah.
But their underwater, really dope ass base. I
Yeah.
love that.
That tower.
Yeah, so cool. And it kind of makes me wonder whether or not, because I mean, I was saying like, oh well, we might get some characters from that game in live action in this particular show, and I was thinking to myself, well, I think what would probably be more likely, although even though we've seen so many elements from that game in the show so far, it's probably more likely that we'll see elements from the show in the next
the game. Well, and it's interesting you mentioned that because I believe one of the writers on the game's called Survivor.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Fallen Order Survivor. One of the writers had mentioned that the timeline of that game runs concurrent with Kenobi.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So yes. I mean, the answer is
it doesn't seem accidental. Like
no, and even if it's just locations or offhand mentions, and obviously, I mean, you just said it. The Inquisitors are a very clear and distinct link between Kenobi and that game.
Right.
And
yeah.
and in fact,
And Darth Vader.
And Darth Vader, and we're seeing it with Reva a little bit. We're kind of doing a little a Trilla action. If you don't know who I'm talking about, and you're listening, Trilla was an Inquisitor in the first Fallen Order game. She was a Jedi Padawan who was abducted by the Empire and brainwashed.
Wait, wasn't Trilla the good one?
No, Trilla was the apprentice. I'm forgetting her master's name. Who, Cal runs with. Trilla is the Inquisitor.
The Inquisitor, got it. Second sister? Is that right?
Second sister, that's right.
Yeah.
And Reva is third sister.
Right.
And
not to be confused.
And you wonder if that's kind of the dynamic happening here a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody suggested that Reva was in the first scene of Kenobi where the kids are running from the Order 66 stuff, and they're
right.
There was a black Padawan among.
Well, she was the very first character that we saw.
Yeah.
Which I mean, that can't be an accident either.
No, which actually, a friend of mine who I'm in the show with, I've been watching with a group of guys that have all really enjoyed Kenobi, and one of them
cute
made a really keen observation.
Very keen.
Or astute observation. So the character posters they've been releasing.
Yes, with the eyeball.
With the eyeball, and it's showing either Kenobi or Vader.
Yes.
And usually it's somebody they're antagonistic toward. The person in the eyeball is whoever that character is antagonistic toward.
Sure.
In Reva's poster, it's Vader.
Oh yeah. Won't that be? Oh well, see, I mean, everybody is like, honestly complaining about her character. Not everybody. Oh my god, that's the stupidest thing to say. He's like, there's a lot of people that are, which is so silly. Again, I think it's a lot of people that watched the first 2 episodes and then decided like, oh, her entire character doesn't make sense. I was like, bitch, give her a chance to like have her entire arc, because I like you can tell that there's like and with all of the Inquisitors, they're all overcompensating and all one-upping each other.
Yes.
And I think that's leading to potentially her like having a common enemy, you know what I mean, between do you think that Reva's going to survive this?
I don't.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
And so we were the guys I've been hanging with.
I don't see how she can.
We were bandying around the idea that well, okay, so the number one question being, why is she interested in Kenobi in particular?
Mm-hmm.
Is it because she knows Vader is, and this is the quickest way to climb the ladder, which is, I think, like the baseline.
She's a ladder climber for sure.
That would be obvious.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like they're all ladder climbers, but she has got like a lot of conviction.
Yeah. And I would buy that, and her performance sells that.
Very much so.
That would be fine if that's what it is.
Yeah, it could be just as simple. Yeah.
The next level is what we were just talking about. Is she kind of a Trilla tragic-like figure who was indeed a Jedi Padawan and blames Kenobi in part for
because she doesn't know the whole story.
Right. But by extension, the fact that she does know Vader is Anakin Skywalker, which we were wondering how that could be, and there's plenty of acceptable answers. But what if this is twofold? She wants to let me make sure I'm getting this right. She is hunting Kenobi so viciously
Yeah.
because she knows it will grab Vader's attention.
Yep.
Perhaps put her in the good graces of Vader for her then to take vengeance on Anakin Skywalker. So kill Obi-Wan for failing the order and kill Anakin for destroying
killing all
it.
the younglings.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, you want to make Reva a character, and then that ensures she does not survive.
Because that kind of makes her sort of an anti-hero in a sense.
Right.
Yeah, which would be dope.
And also, we know. I think it's fairly inevitable if you've followed Star Wars, that the Grand Inquisitor is alive.
Right.
And
yeah.
you're gonna have this subplot of.
Oh, yeah. So I'm curious if you're like what your take was on it in this episode, because to me it kind of felt like she got away with it.
Yeah, she was able to lie. She lied to Vader.
Yeah, and so I mean, several questions come out of that. It feels like the Inquisitors are unaware that she did it.
Yeah.
They're just assuming that Kenobi killed him.
Right.
And I don't think Darth Vader is he probably senses that she's lying.
I'm not sure he cares. I mean, he says that the Grand Inquisitor does not matter.
Right. That was very clear in his
Kenobi
statement,
is the only thing that matters. And then, to your point, he directly says to her, I know what it is you want, you ladder climber, and you can have it. You can have it. Right. You can have it if you give me Kenobi.
You better show me the receipts, bitch. And I'm curious, too, I mean, if it could be, she could be vying for his spot even,
Well, and the more I think about it,
at the side of the Emperor,
and the more I think about it, just think about the way of the Sith and the way they've depicted Palpatine and Vader's relationship, particularly in the books and comics, where Vader makes several not so veiled attempts to
take his place,
to take over, and the Emperor knows it, and he friggin' loves it.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, you like that? You want it?
So it. And my understanding from the new canon is that Vader personally trained at least the first group of Inquisitors. Like they are his charges. And
right.
So it would make sense that whatever Reva's planning, I'm not sure Vader really cares, because he's like, your ambition serves me to a point, and then when I don't need you anymore,
I will dispose of you.
You will be dead.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, he even said. Yeah, he didn't say when. He said if, but he probably meant when. Because he said if you don't succeed, I'm gonna kill your ass. Which, doesn't bode well for her, since we know that she doesn't succeed.
But that's why I think there's going back to your point about why some very vocal people were upset. It was so stupid, but upset with where she was after 2 episodes. And I was like, there's going to be juice here at the end.
No doubt.
She's got a lot going on. And I think having her take vengeance on Kenobi and Skywalker,
I think that's just a sick
It paints such an interesting... Yeah, well, we've never seen anything quite like that in Star Wars, at least live action. And it paints yet another tragic portrait of just how badly the Jedi failed. The Sith are bad, but the Jedi were stupid.
Yep.
Or arrogant.
And she does have I mean, if you're digging into psychology of her, she does kind of have the signs of a girl who's been through trauma early in her life and has never quite dealt with it the right way, and never really completely. There's parts of her that haven't grown up appropriately, so she's rash and do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah. It all checks out to me. I'm curious to see where it goes, and I love that idea, and it would be dope if they did that. Be very cool. I mean, it still would be cool if they didn't, but it would be cooler.
I like honestly, just at face value, I like what Moses Ingram is doing with
me too.
With Reva. She's even if the complaint was valid, that it feels a little one-notish right now.
Yeah, sure.
She's very good at playing that note.
Yes.
She's very charismatic, and she's a loose cannon. And
Yeah,
she's
right.
really good at kind of just being
And if
all
we're
over the place.
if we're if they're staying true to their word, the Lucasfilm and Disney, that they're at least with Lucasfilm in particular, that their target audience has always been 12-year-olds.
Yep.
Like, this kind of an enemy is very easily understood. It's
Yes.
like, she doesn't like these people and she is going after them. Like,
Yep.
that's all you need to know.
And that would be enough.
Yeah, that would be enough.
But that's not going to be it. Like,
Yeah, I don't think so either.
And you can tell just by the caliber of actress she is that
Yeah.
that is absolutely not going to be the case.
Yeah, they could give her more meat, and I think
and
they
I'm
will too.
looking forward to that subplot.
Me too.
We haven't even talked about Kenobi yet, and Ewan McGregor does some of his best work
He's doing so good
to date in this episode in particular.
He's just like so. Yeah, it's just like I don't even know what it is. It's just like he has such a warm, kind presence, and it's just and but like also so like hurt, and you can tell that he's just been devastated and alone, and yeah, and it's yeah, so it's equal parts sad, and yeah, he's just really doing an awesome job.
And it was really borne out when Vader was hunting him, and
oh my god,
the guy doesn't know
terrified.
how to swing his lightsaber anymore.
Yeah, it's so sad. Well,
and terrified.
And it's interesting too, because there were earlier on when he was reading the quote on the wall about like not being able to that you'll find light in the darkness, or you can't see.
I'll read out the full when he was talking to Leia about what the Force is.
No, not that part, but that part was
We'll
also
get to that.
super beautiful.
I'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah, but there when he's like reading on the wall, it's something about I think it's something that
Wrote
Quinn Voss
on the
wall.
Which what a name drop that
I
was.
know.
If you followed the old canon.
They're just name dropping all of the freaking cartoon
That's a
characters.
big one. That's a big one.
It is a big one, and there is total precedent for a live action version of him in this show.
Yes.
Like
Oh yeah.
and then
Or a
potentially-
season 2.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, or like a spin-off or whatever it may be of them like doing, the Path of the Jedi or something. Or The Way, is that what they called it? The Way? The Path? The Way? No,
Yeah.
it's The Path.
The Path.
The Path, yeah. But yeah, so they were talking about like, you have to like be blind to see. I can't remember the exact quote, but it was really quite poignant, and it related to this moment too, because he, wasn't using the Force to feel his surroundings. He was like quite literally using his lightsaber as a flashlight. You know what I mean? Because it was like so dark, and it blinded him. He couldn't see he couldn't see Darth Vader coming. So yeah, I thought that was really interesting. I think that he's still he's like taking his first baby steps back into being in touch with the Force. Yeah, and I don't think that we'll see him in his full. I mean, I don't know if we'll ever see him in his full glory in this show, but I mean,
so the question is, and I think it's fairly obvious, at least, that we are getting a second confrontation, because that wasn't even a confrontation.
We
that
may
was
even get a third
slapping.
too.
But they build this show as a rematch of the century, and
Right.
I've already seen some people who are just not using their brains properly.
Bunch of dummies.
They make the assumption that that was the rematch.
That was it.
I was like, guys,
I mean, it was pretty
Guys.
sick, to be honest. I mean,
It was sick,
being
but that
dragged
wasn't
through the.
that wasn't a
I was
fight.
not expecting that. Him
But
being dragged through the fire. I was like, oh my god.
but this wasn't a duel. This was
No.
a bitch slapping. Like, this is not
Right.
that was not a rematch.
Right.
That's my point. It was like, you have to just kind of put on your common sense here, and like this is the moment that pushes Obi-Wan to get back in the fight.
Right, because he will. I mean, there's kind of no turning back now. Like he has to do something. And this was him just getting a taste of, his Anakin's newfound power as Darth Vader.
Yeah, and the horror on his face while he's just getting hacked at.
Yeah,
I mean,
with one hand, mind you. Like he's just like
Vader
using
was
one hand, and
Vader could have killed him.
Yeah, he had him by
and
the neck.
What's so interesting, and again, this is another moment people got frustrated with when Vader was dragging him through the fire, was that when he's saved, Vader doesn't pursue. He could have easily blown that fire out again.
Well, technically, Vader saved him because
that's the thing. It's like
he uses the Force to push him out of the fire, like as if he was going to take him in, like alive, so that he can continue to torture his little plaything.
Right, and people were like, "This doesn't this already narratively doesn't make sense." It was like Vader just told him that your pain has only begun.
Yeah, right.
I think he made it pretty clear that you're gonna pay.
I think
in all sorts of ways.
I think his initial thought was that he was going to bring him in and then torture him more that way. But I think maybe he made a choice in that very moment that it might serve him to let him go because he could potentially lead him to
more.
The younglings that have been getting away.
There's also the component.
But we should be aware. At this point, I mean, if you've played the video game, that Darth Vader is aware that there are more younglings out there, and
of course he is.
There was a holocron, and it got destroyed or whatever. But and this is 5 years after that moment. That so yeah, it's. I think that that's still on the forefront of his mind because I mean, it's like Obi-Wan is obviously public enemy number one for him, but he still wants to continue his job seeking out other Force sensitive people or children so that he can, either use them or kill them. So if he thinks Obi-Wan can help, I think that might be part of the reason why he let him go.
And somebody else raised the interesting point. What if Vader let him, in part, walk because he was disappointed?
Oh yeah,
I was expecting, and it's kind of an it's very arrogant on his part, but it's like I was expecting catharsis from this.
Sure, it didn't make it fun for him.
And it's like you're pathetic. He said, "Look how weak the years have made you."
Yeah, totally. And you know what? Honestly, I mean, because we see Anakin being obsessed with power, and then Darth Vader same. And
he's like, this is the guy who I once relied on to be my master. I mean, look at you.
I think he would probably take more pride in killing one of the greatest Jedi of all time. But right now he's not that. I mean, yeah, he's definitely in his weakest form. So yeah, I could absolutely see that being a thing.
But so Obi-Wan now has 3 episodes to basically have his Rocky montage of relearning what he has unlearned and what he unlearned intentionally.
And you know who's going to help him?
Leia.
Oh God, yeah, Leia.
Leia by just being Leia. Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
Yeah, Qui-Gon.
Definitely Qui-Gon.
And I'm not emotionally prepared for that.
No,
moment.
me neither. It's gonna be so freaking. I mean, it's this basically every single episode he's reached out to him.
Yes.
Calling Qui-Gon, calling.
One,
Qui-Gon.
I think we talked about
Over.
in our last episode how we're pretty much left with the assumption that he has been unable to commune with him.
Right.
After 10 years, even though Yoda tried to give him the way of doing it, but I think. Whenever they do speak, this will be the first time since Phantom Menace that they've spoken, and it's
Jesus. It's gonna be so. That I mean, Leia has been the heart of the show so far, but that will be devastating for myself, I'm sure, and probably a lot of people.
Well, but let's go back to what we tabled for a moment. So I think I love Darth Vader, so he was automatically my favorite.
Oh, sure.
Moment. But I think the best moment of this episode was when Leia and Obi-Wan are speaking, and she asks him, how does the Force work?
Yeah.
She says, the Force, what does it feel like? And what Obi-Wan says, as he has always been able to do, he states it so beautifully. He says, have you ever been afraid of the dark?
Mm-hmm.
How does it feel when you turn on the light?
Yeah.
And Leia says, I feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
And then Obi-Wan says, yes, it feels like that.
And he probably hasn't felt that in a long time. And what I was talking about before, it absolutely relates to that as well. So we get like basically two hits of the exact same theme about like there's a light in that the Force is like a light in the dark kind of situation, and then when he gets to face Vader for the first time, like he is not using that Force and he is terrified.
No, I mean he's a frightened child.
Mm-hmm.
I mean he's and seeing Anakin.
I was just saying table for after we talk about this, but that like he randomly like throws out the little nugget that is like, oh yeah, I had a brother, and we're like, I'm sorry.
Well, and that was well, yes, number one, confirmation that
My father's
two things: confirmation that Obi-Wan had
Shawl.
Yeah,
I like the way he says Shawl.
Of course, Obi-Wan had a family. We never think about it, but of course he did.
Yeah,
and it also paints a picture, yet another kind of unflattering picture of the Jedi. Unflattering from a certain point of view, in that taken from their families very young, and
from another point of view,
like it's a hard, thankless life.
Yeah, totally.
And think about what Obi-Wan has been through up to this point with Satine, with Anakin,
and to think
with
what his
Maul.
life could have been, had he not been taken from his family. It's interesting.
And how he didn't ever fully allow himself to be happy. And
so sad.
And Leia is the one bringing that out of him. Not Luke, Leia.
Yeah.
Did you ever think that was going to be that way?
And it's just so touching and sweet, and just like such a lovely tribute to Leia's character. And also such a lovely tribute that they did for Carrie Fisher in general.
Yeah, Lola.
Yeah, little Lola the droid. Which was apparently Carrie Fisher had a bird named Lola.
It's little stuff like that. I mean, Vivian Blair, this little girl, young woman, is doing
tremendous job.
And it gets better with. I mean, this was such a great episode, and I'm thinking of the scene too when Leia says, are you my real father? Asking Obi-Wan that, and he said, I wish I was.
I wish I was.
It's like, oh my good God.
Yeah. That's pretty
and then,
freaking sad.
And then Leia lays eyes on her real father. And in the same episode, she has that conversation. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah. And she has no idea.
And interesting that Vader does not yet sense her.
Mm-hmm.
Which just lends credence to the fact we do know that Leia becomes Force sensitive, but that it's laying dormant, and or at least dormant enough for Vader not to detect it.
I'm a bad Star Wars
away.
fan because I'm trying to remember. Does Leia actually like have?
Yes.
What?
The Force.
Yes. No, I know that. No, but does she? Does she have a hat? Yes, she has a hat. Did she ever have a moment of like the realization, like, oh my God, Darth Vader is my dad, or was Luke the only one that had that moment?
No, it's when Luke told her in Return of the Jedi.
It does, but it does happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and yeah. If you remember the scene where they're in the Ewok village and Luke is standing alone on the bridge, and
I just
Leia
remember
comes
them
up.
saying like, "Oh yeah, you're my sister." Oh yeah, and
he tells her, and then he says, "Blah blah blah," and because he's my father, and she's like, "What the fuck?"
I beg your pardon? You mean our father?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, whoa. Yeah, it's been a second. I need to go back.
And then
watch
it
them
just,
again.
I think we mentioned it, and another thing we mentioned in the last episode was, I mean, gosh, Return of the Jedi, right near the end of the saga as we knew it for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
It's not until that moment Vader figures out everything.
Yeah, right.
It's just crazy, and this this episode in particular, and the series as a whole, is making that moment even more powerful.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then talking about how now Obi-Wan's failure is complete, and we're seeing the origins of all of that, and it's talk about making this show a necessity, which is what you always want. You never want to make something that just is fluff or
no, it's
extraneous.
It adds so much emotional depth. Yeah, we're only.
And you ran a risk. You ran a risk with this series of cheapening.
It was a ballsy move for sure. Yeah, because it could have just been like, the purpose to get people to subscribe to Disney Plus, which, I mean, that also did that. And I think it's now currently the highest stream thing of all time on Disney Plus, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, guess good on them.
We haven't even really talked about a very important piece of this episode. A very dear friend of ours.
We have a friend that's a deer?
A actual dear friend. Our good friend from our time doing theater in Southern California, Dustin Sighthammer.
Freaking Dustin.
Plays the loader droid Ned-B.
The tallest loader droid in the galaxy.
And most expressive and emotionally available, non-communicate.
Yeah, for a droid that doesn't say a word, he communicates
he says a
lot.
He says a lot.
Yes.
I'm sure you were the same way. I was messaging with him
as it was happening,
as he came on screen.
Yeah,
and
same.
It was just a lot of emojis.
Yeah,
because words fail to.
I was actually screaming. I was like, ah!
And I'm gonna plug Dustin for a moment. This guy is one of the most pure, gentle, and wildly talented people you will ever meet.
Yeah, like he is the embodiment. The Giving Tree is an actual. It's a book about him.
Yes, and talk about somebody who lives out their faith in everything he does.
It's so true. He's such
he's an actor, he's a director, he's a dancer, he's a stunt performer. He plays he's an artist in general. 5 instruments, just very talented designer.
Gorgeous drag queen.
Yes. You've never met anyone like him. And,
you really haven't.
To see him in Star Wars, and you're going to start seeing him a whole lot. And if you saw X-Men: New Mutants,
yes,
you saw a lot of Dustin. But be on the lookout for him. How exciting! And he really was really terrific.
Yeah, so good. It's such a new addition to the droid family.
Yes,
and also very imposing. I don't know what I was expecting from his character, because we knew that he was going to be in the show, but we didn't really know what exactly. And then when we were finally presented with him, I think I was just expecting him to be obviously he's very friendly, but there's also a side of him that's ooh, he could do a lot of damage when he was holding the freaking hammer behind his back.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit.
And the stormtroopers were he can't understand anything. And as he's putting the hammer behind his back, it's oh
man,
kill him, Dustin. Kill him, Dustin.
Fucking do it.
Do it.
It was really exciting. His very gentle head motions from the one trooper to the other one.
Yes.
It was very I was just waiting for that hammer blow to happen, and it didn't, which is cool. A very cool entrance for our friend, and I'm so thrilled for him, and it's obviously not the last that we see of him. And
just so cool.
Yeah, just so effing cool. But yeah, if you're looking to, oh god, he is such a fabulous. I want to shout out his let's see here. He is _dapper DAPPER_D on Instagram. If you want to go check him out, he is an amazing person, and will be your friend. Whoever you are, he will 100% be your friend.
He will find common ground with you. That's the type of guy he is.
That is who he is.
so great addition. Indira Varma, who plays Tala,
Freaking awesome.
who plays she's the Imperial Turncoat, and you've seen Indira Varma on Game of Thrones as Illyria Sand.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, her reaction to her. Oh, I guess this is sort of a spoiler alert if you've never seen Game of Thrones, but to her husband or
Yeah, well, her lover.
her lover. Yeah, her lover.
Who is none other than the Mandalorian.
Yeah, yeah. So they both have made their way into the Star Wars
Pedro
universe.
Pascal.
Different time periods, but
The
yeah.
scream when his eyes are plucked out and his teeth are knocked out of his face.
Yikes! Like her, I think it was her reaction was all of our reactions. Like it was so genuine.
And then Cersei says in like the second to last season when she finally has her captive, she said, "I've never heard a scream like that in my life."
yeah, right.
It's like, yeah, you could say that again.
Same.
Lives rent free in my head.
Oh my God, Jesus! I still will. I'll never forget that scene. It was just the most devastating TV I had ever seen at that point.
But she's a wonderful addition.
Yes, so happy to have her in the Star Wars universe.
And they name dropped the planet that they were gonna take Kenobi to.
Oh, was it
Kijimi?
Yeah, Kijimi.
So we've seen Kijimi in The Rise of Skywalker. That's where. If I'm keeping my planets the same, isn't that where Rey, Poe, and
oh shit!
And they take 3PO to see Babu Frick on Kijimi.
Yeah, I think you're right. Which makes all the sense, and that's why we saw. Wait. Oh, wait a minute. Well, we saw. Okay, I'm getting my things mixed up now because we did see Bubba Freak in the was it the Mandalorian season 3 trailer?
He's going to be in. They've talked about him. He's going to be.
Yes. Okay. Gotcha. I'm getting my things mixed up, but yeah.
But yeah. So I.
We might even get Bubba Freak in this series.
Maybe.
Maybe or at least one of his one of his kind.
But yeah, they're going to take Kenobi to Kijimi, which is they're kind of quietly tying in some sequel stuff again.
Lots of ties. I mean, I think that they're gonna continue to do that quite a lot since we're pretty much confirmed getting more movies from that era.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think actually one of the more chilling aspects of this episode was actually Kenobi and Leia's run-in with Freck.
Oh yeah.
Essentially a truck driver,
mm-hmm.
Voiced by Zach Braff. By the way, which I had no idea.
Same. Yeah, he's a great voice actor.
But this was a nice little piece of world building under the Empire of like there are people who think this is a good idea.
Yeah.
And
which they kind of did in the Clone Wars for sure.
Yeah.
Although I think
little bit in Bad Batch.
Yeah, in the Bad Batch. Yeah, exactly. I think there was a fair amount of those people, which I think that Tala, like that character, like caught on to quicker than a lot of the other people that we were like lied to. Like we thought it was going to be a good thing, and then obviously weren't aware of what it actually was.
Right, and you want to talk about historical parallels? Maybe we're gonna continue the Nazi Germany. That's the big one that comes to mind.
Yeah, I mean, it is the parallel. Yeah,
I mean it's out of desperation comes this. And, but just it's Freck's casual assumption that everyone is like, yeah, who doesn't love this?
Yeah, it's all the rage.
Right.
Everybody's doing it.
And that scene when the stormtroopers got on, I was like, oh my God, this has like a yet again. I kind of felt like Inglourious Bastards kind of feel.
Yep,
like
same thing again. I just quoted the musical that not that you were in right now, but the one that you were just in. Everybody's doing it. Do you remember that? That's a really deep dive for you.
I just did it?
In
what, 2019?
Was it 2019?
Because I haven't. Daniel, there was a pandemic.
There was a long time.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It was what's another one? People come, people go. Still? I guess that was a really short blip in your life, so it wouldn't really be a super memory, I guess. Still nothing? Oh my god. Boop.
Yeah, if you're only listening to this, I just flatlined.
We'll take a glass together.
Oh, okay, yeah.
There it
Great.
is.
Yeah, well, that was, God, that was 3 years ago.
3 years ago. Oh my god. Yeah, and that's it's like one of the most random lines that the ensemble sings, which you probably had even no idea that it was happening. So it makes sense.
I remember it now, but that
everybody's doing it. I literally I've quoted
yeah.
that ever since like I did it in college, and I nobody knows what the hell I'm talking about. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, you're the only person on earth who would actually get this joke, and
Well,
still didn't
no.
get it. Still didn't get it.
Oh, great.
Sorry
Unless
for
I'm
derailing.
saying it, I don't care about it.
Yeah. All right. Fine.
Kidding.
Sorry. This is also a podcast about musicals. Just want to make
Right.
sure that we got it in.
But yeah, that whole sequence with the stormtroopers just had the Inglourious Bastards feel to it.
Yes, very much.
And then the really cool sequence of the probe droid coming down and Obi-Wan going all action hero
and like basically, oh my god, and the
stormtrooper getting bisected by the
Yikes.
force field. God, Deborah Chow.
Although I gotta say it because like we were joking about it in the first 2 episodes, like there it seems to be a common theme now that there's like very silly sequences where like, you know, the bad guys are chasing them and there's some kind of like, you know, in the forest,
Just
like, oh my
walk
god,
around.
a tree, I can't
Walk around it.
there's like a force beam going across and
You
there's
know-
like literally a giant desert, like you could go.
Somebody suggested that this is a limitation of the volume.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because on the one hand, the volume has gotten so good,
Yeah.
even since 2020 or 2019 when they were shooting Mandalorian.
Yeah.
It's gotten so good that you can't always tell if they're in a real environment or not. But now it makes a lot more sense to me that that's exactly what happened. 'Cause
Yeah,
they
at least with that
they literally
scene, for
only
sure.
they literally only have so much room. So it's like,
Right.
okay,
Yes.
interesting.
Yeah, and I was like, the fact that
It was very Blazing Saddles.
yes, Blazing Saddles or Robin Hood
We'll
Men
cut
in
him off at the
Tights.
pass.
Yeah, he's like the you gotta pay the toll, you know.
Cut him off at the pass. I hate that cliche.
Oh man, but yeah, I had to point it out because it was
No,
funny.
And
I
it's happened.
definitely
I
giggled.
think it's happened 3 times.
Yeah, at least
Thus
3
far,
times. Yeah, so it's a funny, hilarious little thing that'll become.
You know, if I were to levy one complaint, and I can't even call it a complaint
it's just an
so much as
observation.
something I'm waiting on.
Mm.
So Natalie Holt has done the score
Oh, uh-huh.
for Kenobi, and she scored Loki, which
Right.
I think you, Alyssa, and I agreed was
Sick.
some of Marvel's best music thus
Yeah,
far.
what's that instrument that I love so much?
Oh, I know. Yeah. I keep forgetting the
It's freaking cool as hell.
Alyssa knew.
Yeah, I was like, how did she know this stuff? Because
all
she's a
those
lesbian.
musicians in her family. Yeah,
Yeah.
and she's a lesbian.
Yeah, right. Right.
But I mean, Natalie Holt does such great work, and she's written some compelling music for this. I
Yeah.
would say what I'm missing right now is just hints at motifs,
Yeah. Mhm.
and there really
The
haven't
Leia
been.
theme could be really
The,
easily
the
played
Leia
somewhere.
theme, Vader, the Imperial March, not in its full-throated glory,
Sure.
but just
Just a couple of intervals.
a chord progression, yeah.
Yeah.
Or
Mhm.
or even a hint at the Force theme, which we will get there.
Well,
I have no doubt we will get there.
Yeah, and we do get at least a fair amount of hints of those motifs in Kenobi's
in the
theme,
John
'cause-
Williams,
Yeah,
because
really,
John Williams did it.
Yeah, exactly right.
They're all unfinished, but they
Right.
like,
But they're all there.
and that's what's actually so melancholic about the theme is like, oh, it's there. Oh,
Yeah.
it's actually a good metaphor for where he's at right now. It's
Yeah.
just incomplete.
Mm-hmm.
But I am missing. I felt like when we first see Vader on Mustafar, or just a little something
Mm-hmm.
that could really. We know what music in Star Wars can do. It can literally rescue movies,
Oh, man.
entire movies.
Yeah. I mean, I obviously the moment of seeing Luke in Mandalorian for the first time.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that moment alone was incredible, but like hearing like even just a hint of that theme in there, just like I think probably was the biggest thing that made me like heave with tears.
Yeah.
Well,
and
very
like,
very powerful.
And I don't want to project because like these the creators of this, they don't owe us anything.
No.
In terms of like what they deliver. So I never want them to make these shows or these movies just out of a pure desire to satisfy fan hopes.
Yeah. That being said, I mean, even there were a couple of panels where like some of the Lucasfilm people like said as such. They're like, "We're doing this for you," you know.
Which is fine, but I worry that's what happened with Rise of Skywalker. And the reason even though like Last Jedi isn't a perfect movie by any stretch, it dared to try.
Mm-hmm. It did.
And when it succeeded in stunning fashion.
Definitely.
I don't think we need to be Reddit diving to make good Star Wars. And
Right.
I suppose it's just my preference, and I know it's coming. So and she's a fantastic composer. But like for instance, imagining that moment when Qui-Gon reveals himself to Obi-Wan, like sprinkling in the Force theme there would ruin people.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I'm actually curious. So in we were talking about their scene on the mining planet.
Yep.
Before they meet up with Freg, they see Obi-Wan sees like what only can be described as, I guess, just a projection of Anakin in the distance.
Yeah, a hallucination.
Yeah. Which very foreboding, and like, and the scowl that he has on his face, you know, and you just like can, even though he's like so far away, you could like see like at least what Obi-Wan is projecting that Anakin is like
one of the last images he remembers.
Yeah, of him being so angry at him. And, it's I'm just wondering if we're gonna. Assumedly, we're gonna see more of that, but I'm wondering if we're gonna see him a little bit closer. If we're gonna see like, you know, some more Anakin Obi-Wan scenes.
You know, my best guess for episode 4 is exactly that. He's going to spend a lot of time now that he is. Here's my theory.
Here we go.
And I was thinking about it because it's because I was in Moon Knight mode as well. So while Obi-Wan is comatose from just getting dragged through the fire, this is the perfect opportunity for him to be laying there having just absolute either recollections or nightmares about
fever dreams,
Anakin. And I think this is the opportunity we're going to get to go back into the past with the two of them.
Or you know, even if not even past, just like you said, like nightmare versions, like where he's like they're having a conversation, but like, are they really kind of situation? It's like all in his head, like that, like things that never happened, but like his subconscious is dealing with kind of thing.
And as Kenobi clings to life, this is his spiritual reawakening.
Yeah, that would be dope. That would be very cool. Man, is anybody taking notes?
I mean,
this stuff is great.
Star Wars is really good when it's good.
It really is. It really is.
I didn't mention this when we were talking about Vader at the top because I was just so excited to talk about it. It was confirmed it is James Earl Jones recorded new dialogue.
Yeah.
But you'll notice, and I know you did, that they used the re-speech technology that they used with Mark Hamill's performance in Mandalorian.
Right.
To make Vader sound like he did in Return of the Jedi, because you'll note in Rogue One, he sounds slightly different because they basically took James Earl Jones's voice as it is now and put a little effect over it, but it sounds older. Yeah, right. And as your voice ages, your chords change, and he doesn't quite have the timbre he used to have. but they achieved it here. And
Yeah.
when he first opened his mouth, I was like, oh,
Oh shit.
that sounds real good.
Yep. And his overall look too, I think is
Yeah.
they've because like you look at all the different versions of Vader's costume over the years, and it's weird because they're all such subtle changes, but like when you look at them side by side, they're like, why did they make them so differently?
Well, and particularly like Revenge of the Sith, when he first gets put in the helmet, it's so symmetric. Like if they squared it off like a lot.
Not really sure why that was, because that seems like a fairly easy thing to fit. Well, I don't know. Maybe back then they didn't really have, because I mean, maybe a lot of the from what we've learned about ILM and how like haphazard their offices were. Like, I'm wondering if they just lost the schematics and they're just like, we'll just do it off of like a visual and it'll. But
yeah.
It's or if they're just taking artistic liberties, it's if they're just suggesting that Darth Vader's costume is like quite literally evolved over time.
Well,
and
right,
that's possible.
and I actually buy that because it gets worn out. I mean, I'm sure they have replaceable parts. And
I'm just imagining his like a freaking cartoon, like how you go into his closet, and it's just a bunch of different like Darth Vader costumes, like side by side. Like, what would I wear today?
The guy is a cyborg, so like it's. Things change. I do like that in Rogue One and here they basically took his New Hope.
Yes, it's
look
like
and
almost
just recreated
identical.
it.
Yeah,
and
which is very cool.
And the way they shot Vader in particular in this episode, in a way we've never seen before, with the reflection of the flames, we're walking through the shadows, and just when he's walking down that town street.
Oh man!
And the quick head turn. I mean, it's serial killer vibe. I mean, it's just something we've never seen with him before.
It's like a Jason Voorhees kind of situation because you seeing him in the dark, but you don't really see even his outline. You just see like the little lights on his chest, and that alone is so like what's behind there. It's very very scary.
And then like taking note of when his breathing stops.
Yeah.
And like he's still getting used to. He's very aware of how.
He's
obvious
a loud person
it is
now.
But he holds his breath and then just pops out, and it's like, oh my god,
yikes! Did we even? Was this? That was this episode, right? Like the very opening part of the episode was him like getting ready for the day,
put together. Yeah.
Oh my god! Like terrifying.
Has to do that every single day.
Yeah, right. The most descriptive way we've seen, of like how he gets ready.
His neck piece basically being screwed into his spine, and
yikes! It is quite horrific.
Just in constant pain.
Yeah.
When he's outside of the Bacta tank.
Yeah, it's pretty awful.
I mean, man, oh man.
Man, oh man. Yeah, pretty spooky indeed. I'm trying to think about this episode had a lot of stuff in it. And I'm all scatterbrained. I took some notes, but they're even my notes were all over the place. I just cannot wait. Like, we have this episode, then we have the penultimate episode, and then the finale, and then we're done.
And I would imagine in this case, because it's 6 episodes, that the finale will be what is usually the penultimate episode in terms of shock value or
probably
heightened.
Yeah, because if we're only doing one season of this, which it's
well, they've been greenlit for some kind of.
Oh, is that true? I didn't hear that.
Yeah, the question is whether it is. It was very odd how they phrased it.
Like, will it be an Obi-Wan? So if that's the case,
is it a continuation? Like, is it a season 2 or is it a different? I'm trying to remember how that. Yeah, right.
Like it's like the same time period, same characters, but like Obi-Wan is not around. Like, so it's not called Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's called.
But I mean, Ewan McGregor was the one who first hinted at it, and
I did. I know that he kind of joked around about there being like an episode 7, 8, 9 or something like that. Yeah.
But then there was. It hasn't been officially confirmed.
Yeah,
but
I mean, he could have just been.
It's floating
being
around
cute.
that there is an episode or there's a season 2 of some kind. So I wonder where that leaves them with with Vader.
I would be welcome to it.
But I mean,
Potentially. We'll see how it
whatever the second confrontation is, it's going to be epic.
Lit.
And I really, again, going back to music, I really hope we get just a nod and a wink to
touch.
Duel of the Fates.
Yeah. Ooh, that would be so fun. I mean, I don't know whether or not
or Battle of Heroes.
Yeah, I mean, without Maul there, like having the. Well, I mean, no, they hinted they used that in.
And they used it purposefully.
Yeah, they did. They did.
Because Duel of the Fates isn't just about Maul; it's about he is
the fate of Anakin.
It's the fate of Anakin.
Yeah, right.
And and you don't realize it at the time, but the battle between Maul and Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon is the beginning of the battle for Anakin's soul.
Totally, right.
And they lose.
Right.
Dave
And then
Filoni's
this
made
is
a
kind of
point talking
another-
about how like they lost the Duel of the Fates.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see because it's gotta. They have to have a real clever way to put a button on this because, like, there's got to be a There's got to be a.
There's got to be a reason Vader says what he says.
Yeah.
Unless you just assume he's still talking about Revenge of the Sith. But I don't think that's possible because he didn't leave. Or you could make the argument that Obi-Wan left Anakin. Even though Anakin does turn to the dark side, Obi-Wan quite literally leaves him.
Right.
So whatever happens here, I think Obi-Wan either has to kind of be clever in how he escapes, or he kicks Vader's ass.
Yeah, right. I mean,
which doesn't seem possible right now, but
because because in A New Hope, Darth Vader doesn't assume that he's dead. He just says, "Oh, I haven't felt that presence for a long time. I
haven't felt his presence since." ... And he
right.
doesn't finish that.
Yeah, right.
So they haven't violated any canon yet. But to your point, whatever their showdown is, I think it has to, in some way, result in Obi-Wan at least fighting him to a draw.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And how he gets away and hides himself again, and also decides that the best choice for me now is to go back into hiding and become even more of a hermit than I was before.
Well, and to be ready for the time when Luke is ready, and I think Leia is instrumental in that.
Sure,
because she is without knowing it, she is reawakening his paternal instinct.
Sure.
And, he's already inspired, or she has already inspired him, and I think that's so great that one of the Skywalker children, without even knowing it, and without even knowing she has a sibling, is responsible for Obi-Wan training Luke.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess even from the beginning of this show, it was still his, he's always had that, which actually that was something that was sort of not retconned, but I guess you can call it a retcon, because in A New Hope, he made it sound like I don't know. Did he that he always wanted to train him? Because
I mean, well, it's never. I don't. If I'm remembering, it's not explicitly. He never explicitly says that, but you have no reason to believe Obi-Wan didn't have that in mind for him.
Yeah, I guess so. Right.
But the detour here is the fact that Owen's entire family is threatened, and Obi-Wan's like, I can't
ignore that.
I've got to leave him alone.
Oh, right. Oh, no, sorry. Right. Yes. But then realizing that there is a moment that that he might become compromised in that moment. So he's like, well, we have to move now, and there's no better time than now. And then his parents or his aunt and uncle end up dead.
Yep.
But we digress. It's interesting. So that is just something, a new nugget that I was never aware of, or that we were never aware of, that Obi-Wan has always had the intention of training Luke when he was ready, not just to protect him to make sure he didn't die. Like, he was going to, when he became of age, make him into a Jedi, and then I guess inevitably take down the Sith. But but with that being in mind, he sort of detached himself from the Force. I guess he probably is starting to figure out like, oh, I would probably be a pretty shitty teacher because I don't have what it takes anymore.
Yeah. And it's just interesting, like the through line behind the scenes is that Anakin never stops being the chosen one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that the Force works in mysterious ways, and that he remains the chosen one to the very end.
Yeah.
Because he destroys the Sith,
right?
Or at least.
Yeah.
In that it
Yeah. Right.
Because I suppose you could say it was that I would venture to say part of the whole point of the sequel trilogy, and they kind of like Rian Johnson was funneling us this direction that the Force there didn't have to just be one, that the Force will protect itself and balance itself however it needs to, and that it can choose another, or as Rise of Skywalker posits, it creates a dyad.
Right.
And so, I mean, that's getting more convoluted than we need to get. But it's just interesting that watching Anakin do the horrible things he continues to do, that he still is the chosen one.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, wow. It's
it's
nuts.
Yeah, absolutely nuts. Just makes me excited about where Star Wars is going.
Yes.
Yeah, very, very much so.
The more philosophical and mysterious and mystical it gets, the better, because that's what made it what it was.
Yeah. It's just, it's answering some questions, but it's definitely making me dig a lot deeper than I ever thought I would ever about this franchise.
Yeah.
And I love it.
That's when it's at its best, in my opinion. Other people like it for other reasons, and they're great too. But
they're fine.
Some people just like watching kids' necks get snapped by Vader.
And that's me. I sure love it.
Well,
now what?
Hell of an episode.
Yeah.
And congratulations again, Dustin.
Oh, man.
Holy
Freaking
cow.
congratulations. We're so happy for you. And teaser, he's agreed to come on the show, and I'm holding him to it.
Oh, boy. And that guy just has stories out the wazoo. I mean, even things that don't pertain to Star Wars, he could tell you a story about just about anything.
Just anything. And like I said before, and I wasn't joking, like he literally makes friends with every single person.
Yes.
So like he has like stories from every nook and cranny of that set. So it'll be a really, really fun discussion, no doubt. So that's coming. And also the very next episode, allegedly, is going to be a review of Miss Marvel's first episode, which is coming out this week. Oh, wow.
Indeed.
But yeah, I guess now we just need to like end the show. I mean, usually Alyssa does it, and it's like,
well, I'll try it. I'll try to end this.
I'm nervous.
This has been Inside the Tauntaun, a podcast, the multiverse of fandom.
Wow, you sound just like a lesbian. I'm amazed. It's incredible.
Thank you. I listen to recordings of Alyssa, and she talks like this.
She does.
I'm Dino Nicandros.
And I'm Daniel Dawson.
May the Force be with you always.
See ya.
Inside the Tauntaun podcast, please like and subscribe.